All right, stop what you're doing. Put down the phone, close the laptop, tell whoever's next to you to be quiet for a minute, because we are about to have the most dangerous conversation in hip-hop. More dangerous than beef, more dangerous than a diss track, more dangerous than showing up to a cookout with the wrong opinion. We are going to answer the question that has started arguments at barbershops, broken up friendships, derailed dinner tables, and caused otherwise reasonable human beings to lose their entire minds on the internet at 2 in the morning. Who is the greatest MC of all time? Jay-Z, Biggie, or Nas? Now, before you click off, before you type your furious comment, before you call your cousin to tell him what I'm about to say, hear me out. Because this isn't just about who had the hottest bars or the most albums sold. This is about legacy, craft, cultural impact, the DNA these three men left inside of hip-hop that every rapper alive today is still breathing. These are three of the most gifted human beings to ever put words to a beat, and only one conversation can hold all three of them. Let's get into it. First, a little context, because you can't judge kings without understanding the kingdom they built. The early to mid-1990s in New York City was the most fertile creative ground hip-hop had ever seen. Producers were flipping samples in ways nobody had imagined. The streets were providing subject matter that was raw and urgent and real. Three voices emerged that would define not just a decade: Christopher Wallace from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Nasir Jones from Queensbridge, and Sean Carter from Marcy Projects, Brooklyn. Three boroughs, three perspectives, three completely different relationships with language, with success, with pain, and with the microphone. They competed with each other, sometimes quietly, sometimes very loudly. Let's start with the one whose story ended too soon, because in some ways, that's exactly why the conversation about him never ends. The notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls. The man was, by almost universal consensus among people, the most naturally gifted rapper who ever lived. Not the most prolific, not the most successful commercially, the most gifted. What made Biggie supernatural wasn't just his voice, though that voice, that deep, rolling, unhurried baritone, sounded like God clearing his throat before saying something important. It was what he did with a verse. The way he constructed sentences, the economy of his storytelling, the way he could drop you inside a scene, inside a specific street, a specific moment, a specific feeling. Listen to Juicy, a song about rising from nothing. It's nostalgic, it's celebratory, it's a little sentimental. But Biggie delivers it with such specificity, such personal detail, such warmth. You don't just hear the song. You remember his life alongside him, then flip to 10 Crack Commandments. Same man, completely different register, methodical, cold, instructional. He's not performing menace. He's narrating it like a professor who happens to terrify you. Biggie could do everything. Every tone, every mode, every emotional frequency. He had range that most rappers never develop in a full career. Life After Death in 1997. Released just 16 days after he was murdered at 24 years old. 24 years old. Think about what you were doing at 24. Biggie had already permanently altered an art form. His weakness, if you're being ruthlessly analytical, is the body of work. 2 albums. No sophomore slump, no evolution arc, no late career reinvention. Why Biggie remains both the most celebrated and, in some ways, the most tragic figure in this conversation. We argue about what he was rather than what he became, because he never got the chance to become anything more, but what he was might be enough. The natural, the one who made it look effortless, the one whose ghost still shows up in every rapper's flow, whether they know it or not. If Biggie was the natural, Nas is the purist, the one hip-hop scholars point to when they want to defend rap as literature. Nasir Jones released Illmatic in 1994. He was 20 years old, and he made what many, not some, not a few, many, consider the single greatest rap album ever recorded. 9 tracks, 40 minutes, no filler, no skips. The opening lines of NY State of Mind, delivered over a DJ Premier beat that sounds like the city itself breathing. Nas wasn't just rapping about his environment, he was painting it, with words that had weight and texture and color. At 20 years old, Illmatic set a standard so high that it became both Nas's greatest achievement and, for a stretch of his career, his greatest burden. But here's what gets overlooked in the Nas conversation. The man kept going. He stumbled, sure. He had commercial detours. But he also gave us It Was Written. He gave us Stillmatic, which arrived in 2001 and announced loudly and clearly, he gave us God's Son. He gave us Hip Hop Is Dead, an album that diagnosed the culture's illness with the authority of someone who had been its doctor from the beginning. And then the Jay-Z beef, the most lyrically sophisticated rap beef in the history of the genre, a duel between two of the greatest to ever do it. And Nas, calm, measured, precise, furious, delivered ether. Nas's argument for greatest of all time rests on the purity of his craft. Nobody, not Biggie, not Jay, not anyone, has ever written with more intentional, deliberate, architectural precision than Nas at his peak. The albums after Illmatic varied wildly in quality. There were moments of pure genius interrupted by moments of inexplicable creative looseness. Nas has never had a run of 3 consecutive perfect albums. His discography is a collection of towering peaks and frustrating valleys. And then there's Sean Carter, Jay-Z, the man who turned rapping into a business plan and then turned the business plan back into rap. Jay-Z's case for greatest of all time is built on something different from Biggie's natural genius and Nas's poetic precision. Think about what Jay-Z has survived culturally. He came up in the mid-90s. He watched the genre shift from grimy New York boom bap to southern crunk to snap music to ringtone rap to trap to mumble rap and back again. Reasonable Doubt in 1996. A debut album so mature and so assured that it didn't sound like a beginning. It sounded like a veteran's masterpiece from someone who had been doing this for 20 years. Then Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. Then The Blueprint, which dropped on September 11th, 2001, and somehow cut through the noise of one of the most devastating days in American history because it was simply that good. The Blueprint is one of the most complete rap albums ever made. Then The Black Album, framed as a retirement, executed as a victory lap. Then he came back with American Gangster. Then Watch the Throne with Kanye. Then Magna Carta Holy Grail. Then 444. An album of middle-aged vulnerability and accountability. Jay's technical skill sometimes gets undersold because his delivery is so smooth it doesn't sound difficult. The criticism of Jay-Z is that he is calculating where Biggie was instinctive and crafted where Nas was inspired. So, how do you actually compare them? You have to look at multiple dimensions, because they're not competing on the same terms. Peak performance? Biggie. Nobody in the history of this genre peaked higher. Ready to Die is a perfect rap album. Life After Death is an enormous, sprawling, incredibly entertaining double album from someone who was still evolving. Best single project? Nas, Illmatic is the answer. It is hip-hop in its purest, most concentrated, most flawless form. Best body of work? Jay-Z. It's not particularly close. Multiple classic albums spread across different eras of the genre. A career arc that no other rapper in history has come close to replicating. This one is genuinely a 3-way tie. Biggie's flow patterns are in the DNA. Nas's lyrical standard is the bar every serious MC. Jay-Z's blueprint for navigating a long career in hip-hop. Here's the truth. The real, honest, sit with it truth. Biggie is the greatest natural talent rap has ever produced. If talent alone were the measure, the conversation ends there. Nas is the greatest lyricist in the traditional sense. Jay-Z is the greatest rapper by the fullest definition of the word. So who's the best MC? The best rapper in a single moment? Biggie. The best rapper with a pen in hand? Nas. The best rapper across a full career? Jay-Z. Hip-hop gave us a lot of things, but it gave us these three men at the same time, in the same city, pushing each other and pushing the culture to heights it had never reached before. That's not a debate. That's a gift.